So like a lot of other people, I loved Across the Spider-Verse, and it introduced us to a lot of other spider people, and one of them was Peter's daughter, Mayday, who's a baby in the film. However, there's also another Mayday Parker in the film who's an older version of the character like in the comics. I wanted to talk a bit about this version of the character and why I think Spider-Girl succeeds as an alternate version of Spider-Man, while other versions don't. I love Spider-Girl, she's my favorite alternate version of Spider-Man. Spider-Girl made her first appearance in What If 105 in February 1998. It introduces Peter and Mary Jane's 15-year-old daughter May Parker, or Mayday. It starts with her during a basketball game, and as she goes to make a goal, she shatters the backboard. Sound familiar? Anyway, so Peter and MJ start freaking out, fearing that Mayday has inherited her dad's powers. We also see that she's not like Peter, she doesn't get picked on or have no friends. If anything, she's more like how her mother was in high school. This is what I'm talking about when I say Mayday succeeds while someone like Miles Morales doesn't. The problem with Miles, at least in his early appearances, is that he just didn't have anything that made him stand out apart from Peter. He even has a similar origin story to Peter. Miles feels guilty as a result of being indirectly responsible for the death of Peter Parker, just as Peter feels about Uncle Ben. One of the great things about Mayday is that she doesn't have an Uncle Ben-like character who dies. She overhears Peter and MJ talking and finds out about her dad being Spider-Man before she was born, so her and MJ have a talk and she starts to understand why Peter was Spider-Man. And after finding out that the grandson of Norman Osborn is trying to kill her dad, she dons her uncle's suit, who is Peter's clone Ben Reilly, and goes to help. That's all you need. It makes her character feel different from Peter Parker. Now after the fight, her parents decide that they don't want her being Spider-Girl due to the danger of the job, so they burn the costume. This introduction to the character is nothing short of amazing. And not only is this comic a great story on its own, but it's a great mirror image of Spider-Man's first appearance in Amazing Fantasy 15. You see, in What If 105, we're introduced to Mayday as a 15-year-old high school student, and we see her interests, like basketball, and we're introduced to some of her classmates, her family, as well as her relationship to those characters. Then we get into the origin part, and then she has a confrontation with a bad guy. In Amazing Fantasy 15, we're introduced to Peter as a 15-year-old high school student and see his interest in science. We see some of his classmates and his family, as well as his relationship to those characters. Then we have the origin story, and he has a confrontation with a bad guy. And something else that these two comics have in common is that Spider-Girl was not meant to take off. She was put into an anthology comic book series, but the fan response was overwhelming, and as a result she got her own series. Just like how Spider-Man was put into an anthology book, but due to fan response, he was given his own series. Now I could go on and talk about some of the things that happens in Spider-Girl's comics, but I think maybe I'll save that for another time. My whole point with this video is to show you how brilliant this introduction was, and how great the character of Mayday is. I'm sick of constantly seeing the same origin story for a Spider-Man, and the same type of character as Peter Parker. Yes, I obviously love Peter Parker and his origin story, it's all great, but if you're gonna make an alternate version of Spider-Man, make them a unique character that stands out from Peter Parker. Brian Michael Bendis, I'm looking right at you. So yeah, I would highly recommend checking out some of the Spider-Girl comics. I recently read volumes 1 to 4 of the complete collections, as well as the Amazing Spider-Girl series. I loved it. It's some of the best stories you can read about in the modern era of Spider-Man. So yeah, Spider-Girl is great, and you should read it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.